Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic, and thank you for joining us tonight on this Tarot by Janine episode. You can find my lovely co-host at Sending Ravens here on YouTube and also at Tarot by Janine. Janine, welcome back to the show.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Jean-Claude.
How's it going, Janine?
Good. I had a nice, relaxing day today.
Awesome. Well, that's good news because when you and I had a conversation, I believe it was Saturday morning, you had a bit of bad news. You were having some issues here with YouTube. I know we just talked about that on the last pay-per-view we recorded here. It's available now for the Insider Access Pass. It's linked since Sunday, and I just launched it here today for the main public. So if you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. We'll explain this a little bit more later. But in this episode, we did talk about the censorship and the ongoing censorship and the battle that we're facing now. And as we were doing that, of course, Janine, you just woke up to one hell of a gut punch here with Sending Ravens. Explain what happened to you.
Yeah, they just demonetized. So they didn't strike or anything. They literally just, without any warning, took off my monetization. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
So here I am. I'm almost reaching 100,000 there. Worked so hard on that. Yeah. And it is a gut punch. And it's kind of nasty of them because they certainly didn't warn me or tell me anything was coming and of course their language is very vague. We know really probably what's going on. It's censorship, but they're using all kinds of vague language.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like I saw what you sent me, and it's very reminiscent of I've lost a channel here 3 times, so I understand how spooky it is and how a gut punch it is to wake up to all of that. But also to their warning, I think on the first channel I had lost, I'd done an appeal based on what they had told me was the problem, and then they kind of responded, "Oh yeah, you're probably right about that, but here's another problem," and still fuck off and die, right? So that's their approach. So it's kind of like, So I think maybe. This is a losing battle in times of monetization. But again, I mean, it's par for the course. I'm here now sitting on this third BeyondMystic channel, still demonetized also. And at this point, I mean, you and I know that we're doing this fight and we're here on YouTube because this is where we're reaching most of the people who are just waking up. And that's why these numbers keep growing. We know this is where the fight is. And we have to say a really big thank you to all of you guys supporting the show, and specifically also through the PayPal tip jar donation and also through the Insider Access Pass, the pay-per-views. It's really what keeps us going. I mean, we're just like you. We have to put food on the table for the kids, but we want to be out here every night and move that needle forward for humanity and build this community. So a big thank you to all of you. You know who you are, who support the show. Our heart goes out to each and every one of you. A big thank you. Let's do a quick update on this one here before we start. We have a few items to discuss here before we get into the news. You and I just recorded this with Julie. Amazing investigation on all of these different social medias, what perhaps their original mandate was, perhaps the takeovers, the new directions we're going, and some of the overall nefarious interference and the war between good and evil here. What were your thoughts recording this one here? What can you share with the audience, Janine?
It was quite surprising, the answers we were getting to some of the questions. So I won't give it all away or anything, but really great questions on you and Julie's behalf, but questions that I wouldn't have come up with. So that's why I love working with the two of you. It's fun when you're working with people that are, coming from slightly different ideas about what would be a good question, but it makes it so much more interesting. And then the cards, can go any direction from there. And we were getting some really interesting. So it was almost like deep diving on the origins of these things we call the social media platforms.
Right. And we talked also about the future of this social media, what's coming up also with True Social, but maybe some other contenders that are coming up also to replace something that doesn't exist now. And of course, all of this is going to be a reflection of humanity's raising of their consciousness and materializing these new things that work on behalf of humanity, as opposed to working on behalf of propagating these programs of negativity, of scarcity, and all those things. We're trying to move away from that daily programming and get into a better mindset so that we become toxic in a way to the feeding parasite on our backs. So that's the name of the game here. So guys, do go check that out. Available now on pay-per-view. And of course, it's been available for a day or two already
for the Insider Access Pass members. On that note, if you guys are interested in that, Janine and I at some point here, we're going to have to change the prices to adapt here to the inflation and to our raising costs as well. We've been delaying that as long as possible. But if that interests you and you like the Astro Woo Finance, you like the Beyond Crypto Woo shows and all these pay-per-views, please consider the annual pass here. There's a lot of content. Even just with the addition of the Astro Woo Finance, you added over almost $400 worth of value without the other episodes. And this is a 240-year pass. So you get everything in the back for the last year and everything moving forward. So again, a big appreciation to all of you guys supporting us there. Now, okay, let me bring up the PayPal tip jar for the questions tonight. So here's a link on the screen. And I have a new pyramid also to give away to one of you lucky donators from Carla of Ascension Organites. Let me bring that one up on the screen. This one is Mary. Beautiful design also.
This is Carla from Ascension Organites. First off, I wanted to wish you a very happy new year. I hope that 2022 is a great year for all of us and all of humanity, and hopefully we'll start seeing some change, big changes. So today I wanted to show you Mary. Apart from the benefits of the stone lapis that we've already talked about in a previous video, I was thinking about what Mary means to me. And I thought about this for quite a while. And the fact that every time I designed one of my pyramids, I didn't really plan for them. I never sat down to draw them out or to see what colors I was going to put in them. They basically sort of happened as I was making them. I guess it goes back to what Janine was saying, that I channel something when I make my pyramids. But Mary was made the same day that I made Gaia. And if Gaia represents the planet Earth and its abundance, Mary to me represents the sky and the stars. There's something about her that makes me think of our connection to the stars and maybe star seeds and all of this stuff that we have been discovering lately. Maybe she makes you think of that connection to that other side of us that we really don't know about because it has been so occulted. So yeah, I'll give her a quick look, turn around again. And there she is. I hope you like her.
All right. Thank you so much, Carla, for that one. And guys, if you want to put your hands also on one of these amazing creations, you can find Carla's work now at ascensionorganites.com. And if you use BeyondMystic as the coupon code, you will save 10% also. Janine, what do you think of this pyramid? And also in the fact that we just recorded the Starseed and Envoy episode on our pay-per-view. How does this all tie in maybe for the Starseeds waking up now? What would you say to the audience?
Well, I think that design that she did actually matches my outfit. but it also reminds me of the High Priestess in the tarot cards. And that's interesting because she could be like an intuitive, very spiritual version of Divine Feminine. Because Divine Feminine, it isn't only just about spirituality and intuitive female. There's other kinds of other ways to express as the feminine. Right. And they all could be divine. Okay. So she's like another version of, and I've always thought of Mother Mary as like a version of Divine Feminine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Interesting. And what she was talking about there for the Starseeds too, if you haven't seen this episode, please do go check it out. Even today, like I did a show with Gosha from Cosmic Agency, and we were talking about how basically together, the Starseeds, we as humanity, we as the cavalry, we've already changed a lot in the world here. And this is why we're seeing this extreme response from the bad guys who are trying to push all their plans forward here to not lose control here of their grasp on humanity. So, and as we did kind of touch these subjects here on this episode. So if you haven't seen it, please do go and check it out. All right, let's get to some of our news items today. Again, here this weekend on Zero Hedge, something is up, quote unquote. Jim Jordan suggesting that Mr. B, Jr. here, might be indicted soon. So, of course, you and I have been covering that for a long time. We were called conspiracy theorists. I think I got a strike, or I might have lost the other channel because of this. But now, of course, it's all coming to light. It's all true, of course. Some people are already in jail with connections to what was found on this laptop. So let's take a pulse, Janine. Where are we going with this? Maybe in the next month. Let's try to forecast out and see if indeed we're going to see some justice cards here come up for Mr. B, Jr.
Well, I got a big yes.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to see justice. And it feels to me like with that star, he's very vulnerable. Even as we speak, they got lots on him with that strength card. So they could like really, I think they've even done deals with him, frankly. I think they've already discussed this with him. I think, yeah. And there's the outcome. So yes, but the justice is coming for him because that's the outcome. But they've already kind of rounded him up and been talking about it with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's actually been spilling the beans, frankly.
That's what Jim Willie was saying in the last episode too. He says, I think this guy's been talking for a while. So we're coming to a head there too, where this is going to be coming public. And of course, we've been seeing it in mainstream news now for 2 weeks. They're hinting, they're preparing the audience members for this hitting the fan. Right. And I think they're trying to mitigate maybe the damage that's going to do to, of course, the Democratic Party, which if you look at some of the Cliff High Webbot data report from a couple of years ago, suggested that perhaps the Democratic Party would implode after all of these secrets were revealed. So we're getting close to that note now. Let me see if I can bring another related to the Democratic Party here before we get into the world of politics and elections. Let's move this one up on the deck a little bit. So here, Special Counsel George Durham continues his focus here on let's just say Hillary for now. So let's take a pulse on that as well. This, of course, would crush a lot of those Democratic card holding members, but also the public at large to understand perhaps the depravity of what the foundation and what this family was all about. So let's take a pulse as to, now you and I have read on this before, so the audience members know that we think that she's already been rounded up, but we're talking now specifically in terms of making this public to the public at large. Let's take a pulse for this next month also. Are we going to see HRC getting some justice?
For some reason, there's a lot of argument about how that's all going to go down. And it's been really held up because 2 5s are holdups, step backs, and frustrations. So, and then this card was in the middle. So hold up, something we're not seeing maybe, or we're choosing not to see, or they don't think the public's quite ready to see that. So I feel like the last one we just looked at, that's going to come out sooner than for some reason. There's a whole bunch of, inner fighting here with the powers that be in the background, deciding what to do going forward with her. The lady on the screen. Yeah, they haven't decided. And I feel like that might get held up because of inner fighting about how to present that.
Okay, so on one hand, there's difficulty presenting the information to the public at large, the repercussions of that. And on the other hand, too, let me ask you a supplemental question here for the cards. Yes. She's also been quoted quite a few times in different various ways where she's threatening basically the Justice Department to say, hey, if you go after me, I'm going to bring down the lot of you with me, or half of you with me. I forget what the exact quote, so don't take me to my word here, but you guys can go research some of those quotes. So is it possible that also, because some of these supporters are really in depth in the and entwined with the judicial system, that they are also having issues bringing this forward? Big yes. Yeah.
So, yeah. And as you were talking, what I was getting was it's a huge tangled web. It's so tangled, and that's why the inner fighting. Because maybe they need this person in place a little bit longer. But that person will go down if she goes down, and they need them right now because they're trying to get all of these things done, and they got to have them sort of as a sitting whatever judge, or you know what I mean. So there's all of these things, and it will pull a lot of people, is what I'm thinking. Like you said, a big yes for that.
People and perhaps institutions also. Like this has so far-reaching ramifications we don't even know. A quick, maybe a last question on that as well. In that same picture here, of course, we have in the background JP, the initials of the gentleman there. Of course, he was made infamous with respect to ping pong tables. Just say it that way for now.
Yeah.
Right. And so let's ask the question: where is he right now? Has he already been rounded up? Is he still on the Earth plane? What kind of cards glean? Because that could give us indication of how close we are to her being okay. Wow.
Yeah. Quite a while ago, maybe like last year, maybe. I'm thinking last spring, not this, like it was a year ago is what I'm thinking when I see those two. Yeah. And then I got a yes on that. So yeah, he was, it was like spring of maybe February or March of last year. And then we got the Three of Swords. So yeah, he's processed or in the process of being processed.
Okay.
We'll say it like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's leave that there. I'm gonna need a bath after this because that's a lot of dirty things to look at, Janine. Let's go over the world here. There seems to be a theme happening now in the election world, and right now here in Pakistan, we've had a huge upset, of course, and Pakistani opposition leader has just been named now the new prime minister. And for a lot of people, they didn't see this coming, and it's indicative perhaps that the people here, through at least what appears to be democracy, are trying to change the system here. So my first question here, yes, there's a change of governance, but is this just controlled opposition, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, or is this really an upset which could curtail some of the plans of the bad guys around the world, here specifically now for India? What can the cards tell us?
Well, this guy is connected to, or at least he's on board with the mission of the Alliance, is what I'm, because that was in the background. And then that makes that my good military. So, but I don't get he's, whoops, that card. I don't get he's totally, like he's wherever the wind blows. So he's willing to do the bidding of, because he thinks he'd be more powerful if he stays with the good guys right now.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's all good or anything, because this guy's super wishy-washy.
Right.
He's he's going the way of the good guys and going to do their bidding. So they might have even had something to do with prodding him into place, or encouraging him, or
right.
But yeah.
And let's be clear also for the audience members here, when we're pulling cards on these individuals, it's not like, even if we have a positive outlook, it's not because Janine and I personally are carrying these people's water. We're just reading the cards, and sometimes the cards will give us a positive outlook based on the way we ask the question, but not necessarily in our intent. So it could be confusing sometimes, but we just want to make sure that you guys understand we're really just reading the cards here. When we have a personal opinion, Janine and I, we actually tell you, no, this is not the cards, this is me, Jean-Claude, or me, Janine, saying this. Yeah. We'll be clear on that. But for the most part, you have to understand, we're taking a pulse or a picture of the energy as it is presented through the cards here on a timely basis. And that also changes as humanity and its consciousness raises also. This is why we keep, taking the pulse as we go to try to understand what the hell is happening in our crazy world. Okay.
Even the Alliance, they will use people that have been on the dark side.
Yeah.
If they think they're useful, and they have certain stipulations that they would have not been able to have gone as far as, just because they need all hands on deck. And they do deals with these people because it's so entangled that you have to get out of the mess.
Right. Well, it's like if you get robbed in your house and the cops come over and they want to figure out who robbed your house, they're not going to go to Sunday mass to ask people who might have seen something. They're going to go to the street corner where the pimp is and where the guys are reselling stuff on the street to say, hey, what's going on, right? So they're going to have to deal with the nefarious parts to kind of break down all of this stuff. Alexandra Helper, and she's saying, yeah, let's smudge for Janine and JC. Thank you. Appreciate that. Because sometimes when you look at the abyss looks back at you. Okay. Speaking of the abyss, oh my God, this guy is staring into the abyss. Of course, if you're looking at the latest polling in France, it appears that here, of course, in the mainstream news, they're talking the extreme opposition of Marine Le Pen. Oh my God, the devil incarnate could in fact unseat Macron here in France. Let's take a pulse on this as well. Are we seeing the population here also pick anything but Macron here because they're so disappointed, estranged from their government for the last 2 years and these weird mandates? Or is this the machine here understanding that maybe Macron is dead and they're putting
a control opposition in place to stay in power. What's going on in France?
The first question, I laid this out when you said that. So that was a yes, that's what they're doing.
So the population is choosing, okay?
Best of the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I don't think they're saying, because this strategy card's in the background, so I'm not saying most people want the guy that they're saying will probably get in. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying they don't really have too many options there. They just don't want that guy we just showed on screen.
Right.
Yeah, they definitely don't want that guy. So,
I think, okay, let me ask you a supplemental on here too. Remember a couple of years ago, we had this in French, gilets jaunes, so the yellow jackets, the protests in France, right? That was a huge movement. And of course, it was squashed by the last 2 years, not being able to assemble, all of these other rules. Now, now that that's somewhat, that narrative is breaking up, are we going to see here another gilets jaunes movement in France? Is it going to happen if this guy wins again? Is it going to happen regardless, even if Marine Le Pen wins again? Because that sentiment of not being happy and people taking from the streets, from the truck drivers, complaining about gas prices and all these things have only increased since the last couple of years. Oh, big yes there too.
Yeah, we're going to see that. We're going to see a lot more things that were squashed that are just for the good and truth. We want goodness and truth, because these guys have been holding all of that up for a long time. So those are both the cards that'll frequently, if you're talking politics, this is our deep state, dark cult kind of cards. Right. So that's been in the past, but here's where they're headed. So a big yes to your question. Are we going to see those kind of movements? But there'll be a lot more sort of like grassroots, like not paid for by these guys, or these guys who are just another wing of these guys.
Right. Well, let's ask a question here. Janine Wyborn, I'll get your question about Australia here in just a second, but let me bring up the frequency map of this person here. Hold on, image. Marine Le Pen, there you go. Somebody in the chat is asking, is this person a white hat? Are they really tied to changes working for the public, this person? Or are they perhaps in some way a version of controlled opposition? Even though the French electorate is trying to remove Macron, are they falling into a trap maybe by choosing this candidate? What's the general direction here of this candidate as per the question asked in the chat? I forget, I think it was Mary. Sorry, I forget who was asking. It's scrolling too fast. So is Marine Le Pen white hat is the question.
She's made some back deals with the white hats. I don't think she's like a pure white hat or anything, but she has an agreement going forward towards a better world. So there's an agreement going forward towards a better world, and it's going to be up to, if she does get in, she'll have to keep her agreement.
Okay. And
there's some concern that she won't. So they don't entirely trust her. So I wouldn't call her a white hat, no. But I think they've taken her aside and told her sort of what's up.
Right.
It was about the background situation that's been going on.
Okay. Well, something to follow. And again, this could lead to the Gilets jaunes if for some reason she is elected, but in the first 100 days or so doesn't really move in the right direction. She might be shown the riot act by the population itself. Again, the Gilets jaunes were quite effective and successful in the time, and these people have not gone away. They were just put on lockdown. So, and again, now the summer is coming, and we typically see more manifestation during summer, including here in Canada. It'll be interesting to see here moving forward. Okay, Janine, your question on the screen. Janine and JC, you guys are amazing. Thank you for that. Can you pull some cards and see what the Aussies, what the indication is for the federal election coming up in Australia? Let's pull some cards on there, and let's phrase it this way. Is the outcome of the next election in Australia in favor of the people or in favor of the continuation of the control mechanism already in place?
Well, I think it's in favor of freedom and sovereignty. So that sounds like the people. Yay. And a big yes in the middle. And this was above it. So there's really powerful forces working towards changing things in Australia. because we know how bad they've been. And a lot of people are going to be all of a sudden missing, is what I get. There's going to be I get a big takedown of government people, like big time. And they end up, like if they weren't already rounded up in the past, they're going to be. So this is like, now they're hidden somewhere. And it's all on being done by good entities or energies towards helping Australians become a free people. So that's like, it feels like they've got a lot of help in the background to get this to go their way, the people.
Wow, interesting. As I'm looking at this right now, let's go back to France for a second. It appears right now that in France, Macron has just been re-elected. We can see the numbers on the screen now with 27%. So even though we're asking the question if the population was trying to change him by any means, it appears that that has not worked right now. So now that makes sense that the Gilets jaunes scenario might be coming in full force here relatively soon. So I guess we'll continue to report on this. Fascinating stuff, to say the least, because again, that sentiment, go ahead, Janine.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Feels like there's a whole lot of monkey business if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm sure
that part's like hidden and monkey business on the background. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to follow there. Okay, so hold on, folks. I'm going to open up the Discord chat also for the Insider Access Pass memberships here for your questions. And I'll also get to the PayPal tip jar here in a moment. So let me bring that link back on the screen. And again, a big thank you to you guys for supporting us in that way. Let me see if we can bring that up on the screen as well. Okay, so here on Zero Hedge, this will lead us into a line of questioning that is difficult here in the language, so we're going to choose our words carefully. But here is admitting that we're going to have to live with this. It's here to stay. It's here to stay. And that we should understand here that more measures will be put in place. At least that's the narrative here as it's being posted on April 11, 2022. I guess my question is for the cards, is he playing a role here now? Has he been captured? Is this part of, again, the awakening process to anger even more people into waking up? Or is he here still somehow in control of this narrative? And is there enough force behind the bad guys here to continue trying to implement this stuff?
That's a narrative. What he's saying is put out as a narrative. We're past that. I think the real raw news is telling the truth. Even though like it's made to make you think it's a conspiracy theorist newspaper, it's almost using that to get away with saying things, because notice that they use real names, real military people's names, and nobody stands up and says, no way is that true. Like, so they don't say it isn't true, but they don't say it is true. So they say when the military doesn't stand up and totally deny something, it means it could be true.
Okay.
Yeah, so real raw news is always putting stuff out, and I think they use them to keep us. So real raw news recently put out that guy we just saw on the screen starts with an F, that he's been dealt with.
By the military, I think they said.
Yeah, exactly. And they had names and everything and details, and I think they slide in real truth details. And they embellish the story and they change the dates. That's what I've been getting about the real raw news. So this is saying that that's a narrative, because this card's a journalist kind of card, right? And it's also about justice too. It can be about justice because it's about legalities and things like that. And this is an ending. I think that what he's saying is he's not telling the truth. That's a facade card is another way you could read it. Here's who's really in charge of whatever's happening to that guy whose name starts with an F, the Dr. F guy. Okay, so we got the alliances in charge of that guy. So whatever he's supposedly saying, he's not really saying it. Okay, that's put out there on purpose for some reason.
All right, because right now we'll get into these next news stories here, but Ontario today put out a trial balloon before the press conference, and they were suggesting that they would be reinstating the mask mandate. We'll get into that, and we've just seen this happen now in Philadelphia as well. So we're going to get to those two news items in a sec. Let me go first now to the PayPal tip jar. And again, if you guys are just joining us now, you missed the beginning of the show. Janine's channel was just demonetized, Descending Ravens. I'm looking out for my friend here. So again, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you supporting the show. PayPal tip jar is a way to do it, or the pay-per-view stuff is also there. But we try our best. We're here, no fail, every week for you guys, and we really appreciate your guys' support. So let's start with Warrior Goddess. I love that. Warrior Goddess. Okay. Hi, thank you for all you do. When I was young, and I was time where I would wake up at night and see a figure in my doorway. I figured out there was no one actually ever there. So what figure was I seeing and why? What was maybe the message? Janine, let's see what the cards have to say for Warrior Goddess. Thank you, Warrior Goddess. I appreciate that beautiful tip.
Okay, I feel like it was a guide. So I feel like it was a feminine figure. So I don't know how she saw it or what the outline of it was, but there's a feminine goddess kind of energy here. She's a healer. Okay. And it could have even been a shadow of her past life, because I believe a lot of guides, because I'm getting it as a karmic connection with that energy. So it could be a guide. So when we have these karmic and like I have a couple of guides that's when I'm in a really tough situation, I can feel them on either side of me. One's a really big native type warrior guy, and the other one's a really old, sort of almost like the hermit type figure that doesn't feel masculine or feminine. Could be a real balance of both, or could even be an off-worlder now that I think about it, because they don't seem to have a distinctive human masculine or feminine. But anyway, so hers was a feminine energy, guide energy. I'm assuming warrior goddess is a female, so I'm going to say her. And this card would be like a great healer, maybe even her own self in a past life, coming to guide her in her going forward. So I think it's one of her guides.
Wow. Okay. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Warrior Goddess, for that.
Yeah.
Cecilia24, any chance we could use the super stickers to donate? No, that's what I mean. My YouTube channel is not monetized. I'm not allowed. And now Janine is no longer allowed. So you cannot use the super chat functions here. The only way to support us now is either through pay-per-view, Insider Access Pass, or the PayPal tip jar. I appreciate it's frustrating, but this is just part of the war we're all fighting. But thank you, Cecilia. I appreciate the question and the support. Let's go to the Insider Access Pass. Janine, Annette is asking, I'm so sorry to hear this. My brother just passed away. Any message from him, please, would be greatly appreciated. So Annette's brother passed away. Any message? I don't have a timing. There's no timing there, but hopefully we can get something from Annette's brother.
Wow. Feeling like, so very burdened at the time of leaving. I'm not sure what I mean by that. So I'm not sure how he left. But this card says really, really, it was really hard right at the end. That could have been psychological, emotional, or it could have been physical, or all of the above. But right. It was a really hard, like some passings are calm, few of them actually. Some of them are peaceful on some level, or long and drawn out. This one was really, really hard and intense. So there's an intensity to that. And then we've got the 3, because there was so much that person still thought they needed to do. So they had all of these things lined up that they thought they still needed to do. So that could have just been in their own intention, but so it was hard. And they were not entirely happy about leaving when they did, because this card is sort of dragging their feet a little bit, and not necessarily. So some people, they're open to their leaving. This person wasn't so it wasn't so welcomed right at the time of leaving. Okay, but the good news is they feel really like free, independent, and they've gained back this huge freedom, and they're seeing from the other side how important that is for the human race. Now they're seeing, and I don't know if they were red-pilled before or not, but they sure are now. Soulfully, they're seeing the huge importance of human freedom, and they're literally joined the war on the other side, just like my mom did. As soon as she passed over, even though she ridiculed the movement, or turned her nose up at it, but that was just her ego. Her soul joined right away as soon as she went to the other side. So that looks like what's going on here with the brother. And there's some unsaid things that people are feeling sorrowful about, but not to worry. The brother's soul sees and hears and knows what's in everybody's heart. So just say it in your heart if you didn't get to say it. And if there was any bad blood, ego situations going on, all is forgiven on his end. He wants to say that. So there might have been some issues around words said that or not said. And he's saying that just say it in your heart, because now he knows what's in everybody's heart. And he's completely in a neutral and forgiving place. Oh, I can't hear you, Sean.
Sorry. Yeah, I was muted, but at the same time, I was muted by the emotion there from that reading. Wow, that really struck me. Yeah. Okay, JC, won't use PayPal. Can I send you guys a check by email? Sure, maybe EMT too. That works too. I think I really appreciate that, guys. There's different ways. Just maybe contact us through the website. Janine, on that note too, you said last week or 2 weeks before, and I know your schedule was messed around with. Did you eventually get your PO box thing ready? Do you have something you do? Okay, so maybe by Wednesday, guys, we'll try to set that up so you guys can send Janine stuff directly, because it is piling up here just behind my desk, and I haven't done an opening video yet. It's been crazy busy, but a big thank you to all of you sending us stuff through the PO box. So I guess if you're still looking to send something to Janine, you can send it to mine. You'll find it on my website. Sorry. Okay, that's okay. Life intervenes, Janine. All right, Joan Barrow. It was bad enough when they did it to you, Jean-Claude, but demonetize our Janine. Oh, you're so loved and appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Joan. There was no question there, but thank you. We appreciate that. Just sending and thank you both for everything you do. Don Gilchrist, thank you, Don. Really appreciate that. Let's go to, I guess, back the Insider Access Pass here. Song in Atlantis is asking a question. Oh, this is good, Janine. Was the Library of Alexandria taken to the Vatican before it was destroyed? Now, I used to have dreams of this as a kid, and it would anger me. For some reason, I was angry at what they had done to the library. But then only later, I started reading and thinking that perhaps this was a FF type of an event, that wavy thing in the sky, to basically hide and steal and pillage the information there and to move it to Vatican City, perhaps in the underground structures. Is there any truth to that? What can the cards tell us?
You bet. Moved it out of troubled waters. So, I mean, that not necessarily, maybe away from the fire, let's say.
Right.
Into a bigger fire called the Vatican. Right. Anyway, so yes, so 2 6s. So this is good. Okay. And it was under watch by various different entities, energies, but it was very firmly guarded. Because like a big secret. It was a big secret held from everybody. Yeah.
Oh, I was just trying to take a picture here.
So you might get to see that. You might get to see that library or some of the contents of it this lifetime, Jean-Claude, because it seems like there was a big past life connection to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And also, in the Web Out data, they talk about these secrets revealed where I think at some point people would storm the Vatican too. So we might actually find out what is, like we saw in that movie, what was it called? The Dan Brown book, not Lost Symbol, but which one am I talking about? Angels and Demons, the video or the movie made from that book. Tom Hanks at some point is invited into this library, and you could see that there's a lot of documents there that never saw the light of day, or at least maybe since Alexandria. So fascinating stuff to follow, of course. And Cliff was also saying something about Antarctica coming up very soon. also maybe in the news. So something to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Where do I go next? Okay, let's go back to our slide deck here. We need to finish this narrative here. So in Ontario, there's a lot of pressure here from the bureaucracy and from the media and the so-called science table. They're telling our premier that it was the biggest mistake he's made was to lift some of these mandates. And so the trial balloon in the media this morning was that they were about to reinstate the mask mandate. I listened to the press conference when it eventually came out. And they said, well, although we could do that right now, we're just strongly recommending that you use them. But stay tuned, maybe in the fall and with the winter seasons and perhaps the advent of new strains, we'll have to implement that again. So they seem to be telling us here where they want to go. They weren't too happy, but of course, our premier here is going to face the election on June 2nd of 2022. So he doesn't have time right now for any political backlash. I don't think he's going to be interested in doing that anytime soon. But question is that where the province is gearing, at least in terms of what the bad guys are trying to do for the fall and winter?
So narrative of the bad guys. So they're still speaking the narrative of the bad guys. This was in the middle and this was in the past. So they're being puppeted to say that. I know that sounds weird, but it's been really steady there about that. There's something different altogether is going to happen before then that is going to completely take us in a new direction, have nothing to do with that. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of other stuff coming that take us right out of that narrative. But that was still like that hanging on narrative of the bad guy. So they were trying to show everybody, I know it sounds weird, but seems to me that's what they've been doing. Show everybody the worst case scenario of what these guys had planned. They wanted us locked down forever, wearing those things forever. Right? No matter how much evidence comes out, how bad it is, actually way worse to wear the mask. And of course, we know they didn't work anyway and all that kind of. So no matter how much common sense you brought into it, they were going to push it no matter what. Okay, that's what the good guys want you to know that about what the bad guys had planned.
Okay. It's tough going. I mean, every time you read this stuff and you hear this stuff in the morning, it's hard not to have your frequency drop. And I think that's what Janine and I want to convey to you as well. Whether all of this is true, whether the cards are true or not, the one thing both Janine and I agree on personally is that we need to keep our frequency up. The whole point of them putting this stuff out sometimes also is to lower our frequency so that they can have more control. So we need to do everything we can in our personal lives to raise that frequency and to keep it high. And that includes doing things that bring you joy, whether that's looking at a beautiful landscape or what, you guys fill in the blank of what makes you joyful. Okay, Lori Lazarus, love you both. I look forward to many of your guests and uplifting energy every day. Oh, thank you so much, Lori. I appreciate that. Maria Quintero, I love that name. Hello, JC Janine. I love listening to you both. Okay, my son has a potential job offer, but they want him to take the damn thing. Will the company approve a religious or just otherwise exemption? Oof, tough one, Maria. Let's see what the cards have to say. Potential job offer for the son, but he will be required to take the thing. So many people in that position still. Yeah.
He needs to follow his. If he feels at odds with that, which he's rightful to, because this is the thing itself. So this is coming up as the job offer. I feel like it's a test. I know it sounds hard, but I feel like it's a test. This is a very evolved soul, this young man. And it's a test for the evolved soul. He needs to do what in his heart he knows is right. And being forced to do something experimental to your body we know that's not right. And he needs to do what in his heart he knows is true and right and just. And that would maybe be, okay, well, step.
Wow.
Yeah, but I will pull one on the exemption. That was what he really should do, which is tell those guys where to put their job offer, frankly, because the universe knows. I've been in situations my whole life where I was put to the test. Okay, do this, but you'll have to give this up. Well, you'll have to give. And it's like I said, no way. Every time I was ever told I had to give something in my heart to be true up, I said no, and I can go to my grave knowing I never compromised. In fact, I'm the most stubborn human I know. To my knowledge, I could be the most stubborn person I know, because there's no way I'm doing it this lifetime, not giving one part of myself up. And it always got me in better places when I made a boundary to what I knew in my heart was wrong. If you know it's wrong, do not do it, and something better will come. Be brave and never give in to tyranny. That is tyrannous. You have to inject something into your body that's against your will. What does that sound like to you? That is not cool. There's nothing cool about that in any way. You can't just shrug that off. Oh, but I really want the job. But do you want to live?
Yeah.
Do you want to live? Oh, okay. Well, maybe you better not do that then.
Yeah.
Even if he did live after that, it's the principle of, do you want to live with knowing that you bend over at the slightest, you're getting told to do something against your will, you're going to bend over.
You know what's cool about what you're saying too, and I'm totally tracking with you. I just had this wonderful interview and conversation with Gosha of Cosmic Agency earlier today. Guys, if you haven't seen this episode, really go check it out. Lots of deep thinking and questioning that hopefully propels humanity forward here. But one of the things we talked about was this spiritual war that we find ourselves in. And we both kind of agreed that the result of the war, even though we want to win this war as light warriors and all that, doesn't really matter. What really matters is the result of your soul and you expressing the highest potential of your soul in this particular incarnation. And that brings you a certain peace, knowing that whether or not we win the war, you have at least achieved your part, which is your soul contract. Anyways, go check out that video. Really, really cool. Janine, you wanted to do a supplemental on that question for the...
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So the religious exemption. Okay, so you might want to try that. It looks like at first they'll say no, but eventually they drop all of the silliness anyway. So you could probably buy some time. If you're not as obnoxious as me, where I'd tell them where to stick their job. But I would too. You better believe I would, and I've done it so many times. I don't work for anybody.
Yeah,
I work for the universe. I work for the universe. I work for the humans. But anyway, yeah, so that could buy him some time, and but it'll be stressful. Okay, but I believe everything gets dropped anyway. So we're going a whole other direction. But of course, that'll take trust and faith in the universe to do it that way too, right? So that'll also be a test. So whichever way he wants to, he's being tested though.
And you know what? Many people are in that same position now, and that test is just as important as the job itself, and really more important if you really think about it in those terms. Wow, fascinating. Yeah. Okay, let's do this one quickly. Lynn Halterman. Wow, thank you so much, Lynn, for that amazing tip. Absolutely amazing. You're blowing my mind. So she says, thank you both so much for everything, sending ravens and love vibration. Merci beaucoup, Lynn. Really appreciate that. And folks, again, tonight, one of you lucky PayPal tip jar donators, of course, who can get to all of the questions. So we do appreciate the tips, and we try to give back to you guys. Tonight, again, this wonderful pyramid here from Carla at Ascension Organites is available and for grabs here. It will be the winner will be announced tomorrow, and Carla will reach out to you guys. So big thank you to all of you in the tip jar. Like, wow, that's really cool tonight. You guys are really amazing. Okay, let's get back into our news deck. There was something interesting that I saw, I think 3 days ago. Let me bring this up. Yeah, so April 9th. So basically, Aleister MacLeod wrote a piece talking about how we are returning to a commodity currency as opposed to the financialized asset and debt system currency mechanisms that we have now. We're moving away from that into this new world where our currencies are going to be backed, the collateral part of it, by actual real things as opposed to these financial products, debt instruments, and all of these things. Fabulous read, guys, if you haven't read it. A little bit technical, but it still is showing you right now what Janine and I have been talking about, what the Jim Willies of the world, the Cliff High's been talking about, the fact that we'd eventually, as humans, start a trajectory towards sound money, real money. And so we've already had that example now. If you guys go check out the last, which one is it? I believe, hold on a second. Is it number 4? So the number 4 Astro Woo, we talked about it. And also in the last Crypto Woo, we talked about these gold-backed currencies here in attached to the ruble, and how this is absolutely a game changer that the mainstream media is not telling you about right now. Although it is starting to sneak up here in a lot of our economists magazines and forum, including this one here from Alistair McLeod. Okay, so that's the setup for all of that. I know it's a mouthful, but it's very important because it's signaling a change. It finally signals here in mainstream news the death of the petrodollar and those instruments, and we're now starting to change the way we're going to view money here very, very rapidly. And this has unintended consequences, very positive ones long-term for humanity, but in the short term, a lot of breakages are going to happen because of this. So Janine, let's start there. With this gold-backed currency here, is that the final setup that we were looking for to eventually get to perhaps this $600 silver that has been forecasted for a long time? And it's just so funny that Cliff was talking about the harvesting of the corn. And we would see $600 silver when we would see a connection with harvesting of the corn. And just funny enough, the way Alistair McLeod positioned his argument today, in this picture, we see corn there. Yeah. So I'm like, whoa, that's a temporal marker if I've ever seen one. And it never comes in the way you think it's going to come. So it's here now. So is that a big setup here for that famous $600 silver? What can the cards glean on that to take a pulse here?
That's interesting you said that about the corn, because I was looking just even in a casual way at that picture you had on the screen, and my eye immediately went to the corn and was like, how come they put corn in there? It didn't quite match the rest, but you know, that
subliminal messaging. And actually the way the web data works too, it's not always the way you think. You remember that prediction of blondes on boats, and everybody's like, blondes on boats, so that has to do with anything. And eventually we found out after was it the Concordia, one of those ships that sank in Italy, the captain had been distracted by a blonde who is in the cockpit with him. So of course that's how the web data works. And sometimes when you read the text, you don't really figure out how this works, but eventually in hindsight we get it. So here we're talking about these commodities, we're talking about corn here as well in this particular picture. So let's see, where are we on this $600 silver? Is this the setup finally that's propelling us towards these crazy prices?
Well, it's interesting. I would say eventually that is, because we've got the world in the middle of those. So the world is, it'll get there, but that 4 of cups, there's going to be even something else right away that'll also push it over. So it's not entirely just that. So these cards are saying we're getting there, and it's one of them, but I think there's more to it. I think there's one more to see as well. So I don't know what other markers he was talking about, but I think we got to see one more too.
The other marker was perhaps Disney. And we're seeing markers of Disney, and you and I had been guided to not do the Disney pay-per-view decode that we were doing for quite some time. And now here we're in Disney. There you go.
Yeah. So when you were talking, this was on the bottom.
Yeah.
And I just picked up the deck and I saw it.
Right.
So I'm thinking, that's the card.
Yeah.
It's saying from the cards. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so that Disney temporal marker has hit. You guys can go read Cliff High's Substack here. He's been talking about it in the last week or two as well. Wow. Yeah, that's very fascinating. Okay, a couple of updates, guys. Let me just bring up the Miles Franklin discount for this week. BeyondMystic.net/silver. These now are the 100-ounce silver bars on sale for you guys at $4.45 over spot. Really, really good price given the fact that most of the dealers don't even have these in stock right now. So do go check that out. BeyondMystic.net/silver. And on the Canadian side, a brand new special. I just got it about an hour before the show here for you guys tonight. Again, offered to Beyond Mystic audience. This is mfbullion.ca, the Canadian affiliate program, and this is the 1 kilo PAMP Swiss bars. Janine, you have these bars. They're absolutely amazing and beautiful. Yeah. What do you think of this particular product here?
Yeah, I like it. It's really fun to hold that much silver, just even one of them. Yeah, it feels really, it's like.
Yeah. I love them too. Yeah. PAMP Swiss is absolutely an amazing product. And I have to say, okay, so first of all, too, at $5.49 over a spot Canadian, really, really good deal, guys. So do go check that out. The links are in the description box below. I will also pin them to the comments after the show, but let me bring this one in the live chat because oftentimes the Canadian people ask me after the show and they send me emails, what's that Canadian link again, JC? So there you go. It's in the live chat now, so you can see it, mfbullion.ca. And another thing I wanted to show you, to give you a quick update, and we're so close, Janine, hold on. I wasn't prepared for this one. There you go. Let me bring this up on the screen. What do you see there? These are the first bars to come out of the machine. And why this is interesting, this machine that Miles Franklin is using is
first of all, it's crazy expensive. It's through the roof expensive, but it's the same process that they use for the PAMP Swiss bar. And these are renowned all over the world for the quality. So same machine here now is producing our Beyond Mystic bars. These are the first prints out of the machine. I'm so happy with the level of detail that came out. I was worried because we're putting a lot in there, but this machine just really knocked it out of the park. So right now, Andy and I are preparing the back-end form for you guys to be able to order that. Now, if you remember, also, let me bring this up, Silver Bar. A lot of you had already signed up in pre-order showing your interest for these bars using this contact form. I will be emailing you guys first. You have first dibs because, again, this is a limited run. So you will have probably 2 or 3 days to reconfirm if you indeed wanted to purchase. Again, there was no purchase necessary when you filled out this form, but you'll have 2 or 3 days here to respond if you actually want to make one of these purchases. And then from there, I'll open it up to the public at large. So all of this is going to be happening here in the next couple of days and week, but we are already now producing both of these bars for you. I'm not sure of the timing of how they're going to lay them out from the warehouse perspective and the back-end perspective. So I still have a few things to work out with Andy and the crew, but we're this close. So again, guys, take a look at these beautiful bars. The lighting's not great and everything, but I assure you, they're really, really cool. So Andy also made me a video, which I don't have right now, which shows how absolutely amazing these bars are. He's holding them in his hand. So it's going to be really, really cool. So do go and check that out again. So if you still wanted to be on that list, that pre-order form is still running now. So that's beyondmystic.net/silver bar. And of course, Janine, last but not least, let me ask you to pull a card on this one too. We've talked about this design here quite a few times about having the star card and what that means here for the Beyond Mystic audience. Let's pull some cards here again to maybe take a pulse on the energy of using this card, using the inherent power of silver, using the meaning here of the Beyond Mystic logo attached with the star cards. What positivity and energy is supporting that in the audience members?
Yeah, it's putting out a really clear message. Everything that so there's a lot of clarity in both these cards. We've got an ace, so it's being very affirmative. So it's like sending out an intention. So it's like a really clear intention. And if you think about the positive version of the star, so it's very Aquarian. There's a sense of that it aligns itself with the Aquarian energies. And of course, we're at the very beginning of the age of Aquarius. So everything, let's think about the positive version of the age of Aquarius. So we're talking like altruistic. Did I say that word right? A lot of generosity, groups that come together for the good of humanity, if you think about that. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole group of people going to be wanting to engage with that bar. You know what I mean? They're going to want to purchase those bars, but it sort of symbolizes what Beyond Mystic is in a way, because you brought a whole community together to make the world better somehow. Or just to do your part, and all your guests are on there just trying to do their part in bringing truth and that's another thing. She's naked, so she doesn't keep big secrets. It's about reveals and not having a bunch of dark, murky things going on that we don't know about, right? So there's a sense of, and healing. So healing of going forward, bringing healing to the earth. She brings healings. That's why she's taking water from one side to the other. And in the original card, the star, she had her hand up with one of those jugs, and water was coming from the sky through her. So she was conducting. So she was like changing it, transmuting it, and then it fell to the earth into the pool. So that the card's been altered, which is interesting. And I wonder who was responsible for that, because the original drawing, she actually water was coming from the universe. So she was conducting energy.
Fascinating. And I can just imagine, because a lot of people were watching on the other show, the Deep Intuitive Healing Show with May Levy, they're talking about using crystals and grids while they do meditation and healing work. And more now, people are adding silver to their grids. And it was difficult for some people because I'm adding a silver and it has the queen on it. Who wants to add that energy to your healing session? Whereas this, of course, has a complete different positive energy message. I could just imagine a bunch of our audience members using this and the quantum entanglement field that can create together. Absolutely powerful. So anyways, really excited about that one, guys. Stay tuned. Maybe by Wednesday night or Thursday night, we'll be ready with that notification for you guys who had already filled out this form.
and we will be taking it from there. Thank you to everyone here with the positive comments about this bar in the live chat. You guys are amazing. Okay, let me see what I can do next. Did I have more on the slide deck for the news? Let me see. The corn, the silver. Okay, I think that's good. Janine, why don't we call it? We're already at the hour mark. Let's. Is there anything? Wait a second here. You just did a video. Let me see if I can bring this up. I thought it was absolutely fascinating because I'm getting all of these emails. So you produced this on your was it Tarot by Janine? Yeah. This whole thing about the looking glass technology. You and I have been bombarded in the last week. People are showing us all these videos and content about us and asking us about this. So you did this first preliminary. Oh man, I'm tired. Preliminary video here looking at this. So explain what's in this video and explain why also you, Julie, and myself are going to do a much deeper dive on the Janine Investigate show also.
Yeah, so I actually was more looking at, there's a couple of videos that went out that were quite alarming. So a lot of people sent me emails. That's why I did this video. That's usually what I do. I just gauge what everybody's talking about. And I go, okay, I'll help them out. I'll just see what I get around it. Right. And that sort of like seems to be what sort of my job. Okay. So it was called Event 1, Event 2. I'm sure everybody's watched them by now. They're kind of gut punchy. And apparently they got them an Event 2030. And apparently these events were pre-seen and or sort of seen by this gadget called, and I'm going to call it a gadget, called the Looking Glass. Okay, so I wasn't necessarily deep diving on the thing itself. I was actually deep diving on the events they speak of, because maybe even lots of psychics have seen those events. It's not just this looking glass, but I did mention that the looking glass was attributed to having seen these things. Okay. So that's where they say they got the information. So I just touch a little bit of base on what people say about the looking glass. And then I talk about the events themselves and are they actually going to come to pass? And what I consistently get is no, actually, no, take it all down. There could be some scares. And it felt like the looking glass equipment itself wasn't really functioning anymore. And a lot of people wrote me afterwards and had all kinds of reasons why they'd heard that it wasn't functioning. And well, yeah, it's very interesting. But I think we need to deep dive on what really is going on there because there's so many different takes on it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so guys, we are going to be recording that on Wednesday, I believe. Janine, Julie, and myself in the afternoon. In the meantime, if you haven't already seen this one, please do go check it out. The social media investigation, fabulous, and it kind of ties in here to some of the nefarious technologies being used to navigate the direction of humanity. So do go and check this one out first. Terry in the chat, and somebody else was saying, $250 markup. What are you guys talking about? No. Absolutely not. There's no $250 markup on the silver bars. I don't have the final price yet, but I assure you, and as I said last week in the show with Bill Holter and Andy Schegman, these are going to be very competitive and in some cases cheaper than what is already available at this quality level on the internet. I assure you of that. And of course, Mile Franklin is a big dealer and they have the ability to buy silver in bulk in the millions of dollars. So they get a really good price on stuff. So no, there's no $250 markup. Absolutely not. It will be absolutely well priced in comparison to other products of this quality. I assure you of that. And I was working very hard with Andy to make sure that we had the best possible low price, as we do with all of the affiliate programs for silver. So I'm not sure who brought that up, the $250, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to correct myself. Terry says, okay, thanks, JC. Thank you. So I don't know who brought that up, but no, absolutely not. We're going to make it really, really as affordable as we can, of course. And of course, the spot price will be whatever the spot price will be. That we have no control over the markets, folks. Wow, guys, that hour went really fast. Thank you so much, Janine, for all of that. This was a tarot readings by Janine. Guys, you can follow Janine, as always, at Sending Ravens here for as long as that channel is still active. And also here at Tarot by Janine. And a big thank you to all of you amazing PayPal tip jar donators. And I will be announcing the winner of this pyramid tomorrow morning through Carla and her email process. A big thank you to everyone. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe here on my third Backup Beyond Mystic channel. I love you guys. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.
Au revoir.